We would like to show you how our tube-to-tube sheet weld head works on a manipulator, putting it into a workpiece. What I need to do now is come towards the workpiece with the manipulator and the weld head to show you how to insert the weld head and how to insert the mandrel into the workpiece and to make a weld. This is a very stepwise process. Right now, here's the manipulator with an on-off pneumatic valve switch which controls the up and down flow of the manipulator for the weld head. You can raise it and lower it, bring it in and out to the weld, and then you can bring it back out. When you're finished, what you do is you shut off the pneumatic valve and you can lock it in and secure it into place and it will not move. The back part of the weld head of the tube sheet after the body is where the handle and the controls are upon the weld head and the remote pendant. The first control actually are controlled by the manipulator. In this case, the next two buttons are the clockwise and counterclockwise rotation buttons, and then which controls the wire in and out of the torch tip near the sequence start button and the down slope button if you wish to stop the weld earlier, and then the complete red button which will stop the welding sequence. Do not have to use the remote pendant because all the controls are on the handle of the weld head. We have shown you before the front part of the tube sheet weld head, but I would like to bring you closer to see the different parts. First is the torch with the tungsten and the wire nozzle. However, important right now is the mandrel, which is inserted into the workpiece. The mandrel is size specific and very important in the welding. Here's the torch, generally used with the argon for shielding gas. The torch can be adjusted. The weld head has AVC, which is automatic volt control, which maintains a constant arc gap between the tungsten and the workpiece, and which is controlled on the back side of the weld head near the handle. Now, in the front of the weld head, where the wire comes out of the torch, you can see on the other side of the wire nozzle is the mandrel, which allows for the chilling process to occur for the better welding of the tube in the tube-to-tube sheet process. The last thing that I would like to talk about in the front of the weld head is the wire. I am going to rotate the head towards us so that you can see the wire and have it placed in the weld head. The wire will be placed in the wire tubing down around back where the wire nozzle is located to be able to feed into the weld. We are now using the manipulator to insert the weld head mandrel into the workpiece, and then we're going to lock it in place. Note it cannot be moved, and we are ready to begin the welding process. Prior to welding, we are going to rotate the weld head to simulate the welding process. Note the mandrel is inserted into the workpiece in the center of the weld. You will also check the wire feed angle and adjust the torch distance required during this process. Now here's the primary or root pass of the tube-to-tube sheet. Note that some of the applications you need only a single pass, and other specifications require more than one pass. Look at the adjacent tubes that were welded next to this original weld. Notice the AVC button is turning in and out as we're doing the weld to keep a constant arc gap around the tube as it's welding. We're almost finished with the weld, and you can see how the wire is feeding right into the process as we go along. After we remove the manipulator out and the mandrel, please look at the adjacent tube-to-tube sheet welds and note how close their proximity is. We're going to change the weld head going from 25.4 mm or 1-inch mandrel to a larger size mandrel. First, we need to remove the torch mandrel. After removal, please note that there are two internal tubes. for water circulation cooling in and out of the mandrel to keep it cool, and which our competitors do not have. See the mandrel attachment area. I need to remove the mandrel, then the mandrel piece from the work head, and place the new mandrel attachment. Place back on our chilling ring before the mandrel. Then I replace the back mandrel for chilling and expansion inside by screwing it in. This is to keep the weld cool. Then I place the new larger mandrel. After tightening, we tighten her down, and this one will help expand and contract the mandrel. There's our chilling ring that goes on to keep it cool as we weld through the process. Now we put on the mandrel, which will expand and contract, and allowing us to connect to the new tube to tube sheet size. First we push in the mandrel, we securely fasten it, allowing it to contract and expand. As you note, as we tighten it, it will tighten down and then it will expand and contract. At this point, we need to place the 3 standoff feet, which attaches to the front of the weld head for positioning, since normally used without the manipulator. Note we have the legs have swivels and can attach to different points if required, and the top of the weld head has an adjustment that we will show you later on in case it's needed. Look how we move the different legs. Now we are connected onto a new tube-to-tube sheet of a larger size. The mandrel we will show you now is the larger one that we put on, and we will show it first expanding and then contracting. And it's done pneumatically, expand and contract. Now we look at the legs and look at the stability that we need to push them around to help the tube-to-tube sheet gun become more stable prior to welding. We can move the legs so that it doesn't bump into any of the tubes while welding. As you know, on the top, if we loosen it, we can move the legs around to make sure we have a stable position while we are welding. First, now we insert the tube into the hole with the mandrel, and we check to see our positions on the welding gun. Now that we have inserted the gun and made sure that the standoffs are correct, we are ready to weld. And now we can remove it using the pneumatic switch to pull it out and place it into another tube, at which time we're going to check the standoffs to make sure that they are on the workpiece so we have stability, and then after insertion make sure that we re-expand the mandrel. Now we're going to start the welding sequence on that new tube. As you can see, we've initiated the arc, and as you watch it go around, you will see that it is laying wire on the root pass of a 2-pass weld, which consists of a root pass and a cap pass. So now we're doing the root, so you can see it going around the tube. How the weld is going into the puddle very well. And now on this part, we're watching the cap pass, which is after the first pass. Here you go. Here's your cap pass going in. You can see how the weld bead is going right to the end. And once we finish the weld, we will pull out the mandrel and you will be able to look at the weld finished, completed.